as an enforcer. If you watched the Bruins the other night, Lucic wins a fight. Bruins have tremendous energy, go on to win the game. Do people realize how important your role is, and talk about what you guys bring to the table?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm an enforcer. I mean, an enforcer, I think, if you want to truly have an enforcer, it'd be someone, in the heavyweight category who, is. Those guys are scary guys, the McIntyres on Wilkes-Barre, and, the Kings are familiar with Kevin Westgarth, and, we got Justin Johnson here. For myself, I know I end up getting a lot of fights, and I do try and change the momentum of the game, or try and spark the team, or try and aggravate the other team. I wouldn't want to be. I think if you talk to any hockey player, regardless of who they were, they all play the game, to play, to skate, to shoot, to pass. But in our pro game and in junior hockey, unfortunately in college they have a fighting rule where you can't fight, but it can really change the momentum of a game, and it can fire your team up. And if you played a few games in a row, or your team's losing, or you got a rivalry with a team. To see another guy go out there and kind of put his well-being on the line for the jersey, it can be inspiring, and at times too it can be demoralizing, if you see one of your teammates get beat up, or maybe it's not a really good fight, and no punches are really thrown. It can kind of take away from the game. So I'm not a big fan of guys stepping off the bench and just throwing punches, and then that's all they contribute to a game. I respect it. Personally, I work hard at my skill and my skating so that coach can use me, as a player. I can hold a regular shift, get some points, be counted on defensively. But, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, standing up for a teammate, there's no better feeling than after a fight, looking over at your bench and hearing your fans cheer for you, because, you put yourself on the line for them. And it's a great feeling.
Rich, tell me about your scar on your and your stitches on your right cheek. How did that happen?
Saturday in Worcester, I ended up, the game was getting pretty intense, and their team was pretty much, every player was coming after me, and I landed a pretty good check on a guy, and I turned around and some guy was in my face with his gloves off, and I obliged him, and he hit me in the visor, and my visor, in our league we have to wear visors, and it's tough because, you don't have time sometimes to take your helmet off, and you don't want to hurt your hand on another guy's visor, but he punched me in the visor, and it cut me, and yeah, so I mean, like, I didn't really feel it during the fight, and I was kind of laughing after it, but yeah, they put some stitches in there, and came back out, almost scored a goal, and ended up getting an assist on the game winner, so it was good to win.
And how tough it is down the road for players. And do you think that their role as fighters maybe contributed to problems, depression, the concussions they may have had, and have you given that much thought?
Yeah. Yeah, it's, first and foremost, the guys that play in the game, sometimes people forget that they're humans, and their minds and their emotions and their brains are constructed the exact same as, someone who's not a professional athlete. And, it was sad hearing about those three in a row. I think that the fighting definitely didn't help. I don't think that it's the main cause. The fighting definitely doesn't help. At the same time, it can help a bit, because anybody who fights is looking to gain self-confidence. And all those guys were very tough, but there was probably a part inside of them that maybe they had a little voice in their head saying, that they had to go out and prove themselves every day, and maybe something similar to how I feel. And I'm definitely not in the same class when it comes to fighting as those three guys, but I can empathize with, the anxiety and a bit of the stress, and maybe I can be of some help here too. Like I've had my own struggles too. It's been, since my teenage years in junior hockey and my first few years in pro, where, I didn't deal with things, the pressures of the game and being away from home and everything as well. And I had to go through some of my own challenges. And anytime that you see a fellow hockey player pass away, it's tough. And my paths crossed with Rick Rippon a few years ago in the playoffs, and when I was up in the NHL, and I was injured, and I ended up trying to fight the guy, then kind of trying to get away from it, and he ended up grabbing me and laying a beating on me, and my season ended, and like it just ate me up inside. And I'm sure at the same time he was in a bad place himself. And I can't say that the fighting is the cause of the depression and the substance abuse. I think people are going to do that. They're going to justify things like that in their head, but it certainly doesn't help, and especially if they feel alone, and when really they aren't alone. It's tough when you're in that position. You don't know how they feel. You don't know. You could be in a room full of teammates and feel like you're the only person that exists. It's just mental illness, and there's nothing wrong with it. And unfortunately, those guys. People say that they passed away the way they did, but they fought hard, and I'm sure that if they were still here, they'd probably do everything in their power to raise awareness about mental illness and substance abuse. So.